Hello and welcome, friends. This is Evergreen Health, where we bring you trusted advice to help you live stronger, longer, and with more confidence every day. Now, let's take a look at that title again. Seniors, 3 foods you should never refrigerate, and 3 you must keep cold. And let me be the first to say it. Yes, I absolutely agree. In fact, what we're about to talk about might seem simple, but it could be one of the most important food safety lessons you've ever heard. Because let's be honest, most of us were never taught this in school, and many of the habits we've formed over the pudding. But before we dive into the surprising truth hiding in your refrigerator and pantry, please take just 1 second to hit. Your support motivates us to keep creating content that's not just helpful, but potentially life-saving. And now, let me ask you, have you ever opened your fridge and found something you weren't sure about? Maybe it was a jar of peanut butter that had or. Perhaps it was a piece of cheese you. Here's the shocking truth. Every and more result. That's happening right here, in homes just like yours, in kitchens that seem clean, in fridges that hum quietly in the corner. Trusted, familiar, and sometimes dangerous. Why? Because as we grow older, our bodies change, our immune systems weaken, our digestion slows down. And a simple, but there's good what, because that's exactly what I'm here today, not just as a voice in a video, but in the next few, the 3 everyday foods that should never go in your fridge. The 3 foods you absolutely must keep cold, or risk. And real stories from seniors who made these small changes and felt a big difference in their digestion, memory. So, if you're ready to transform, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Part 2. Food Seniors should never refrigerate, and why. Section 2.1. Peanut butter, the unexpected heartbreaker, expanded. Voiceover. Let's begin with something simple, something familiar, something many seniors love and have relied on for decades. Peanut butter. For millions of older adults, peanut butter is more than a snack. It's a ritual, a slice of comfort, a warm reminder of childhood when life was slower and simpler, a spoonful before bed, a sandwich at lunchtime, a protein boost in the afternoon. It's easy to prepare, rich in flavor, and packed with healthy fats and plant-based protein. In many ways, peanut butter feels like the perfect food. But here's the truth most people never realize. Storing peanut butter in the fridge could quietly be working against your health. The physical struggle. When comfort turns into challenge. Think about it. Have you ever opened your jar of peanut butter straight from the refrigerator only to find it hard as a rock? The oils have solidified. The once smooth texture has become stiff, crumbly, resistant. And suddenly, something that should be a joyful part of your meal becomes a test of strength, especially if you have arthritis, carpal tunnel, or even just mild joint stiffness. I've had patients, like Mrs. Thompson, 72, a retired schoolteacher, tell me, "I used to love peanut butter toast every morning, but when it started hurting to spread it, I just gave up." She wasn't alone. Another patient, Mr. Patel, 77, shared how he once bent a butter knife trying to scoop chilled peanut butter for his granddaughter's lunch. We often dismiss these as minor inconveniences, but for many seniors, they lead to skipped meals, frustration, and even reduced nutrition, just because the jar was stored in the wrong place. Let me ask you, have you ever had to warm your peanut butter in the microwave just to make it usable? Do you avoid using it altogether because it's too difficult to spread? The hidden chemical changes. What you can't see. But texture is just the beginning. Cold temperatures don't just affect how peanut butter feels. they change its very structure. Peanut butter contains monounsaturated fats, the same kind of heart-healthy fats found in olive oil and avocados. These fats are incredibly beneficial for seniors. They help lower bad LDL cholesterol. They raise good HDL cholesterol. They support blood vessel health. They reduce inflammation in the body. But here's the catch. These fats are temperature sensitive. When peanut butter is stored in the fridge and then taken out and put back in over and over, these oils can begin to oxidize. Oxidation is a silent chemical reaction. You can't smell it or taste it. But over time, it degrades the quality of the fat and introduces free radicals into your body. Free radicals cause inflammation. And inflammation, as we now understand, is at the root of so many chronic conditions: heart disease, arthritis flare-ups, memory loss, and brain fog. Type 2. Diabetes, weakened immune response, the brain-heart connection, losing vitamin E. And it doesn't stop there. Peanut butter is one of the few widely loved foods that also contains vitamin E, a crucial antioxidant for seniors. Vitamin E helps protect brain cells from oxidative stress, maintain sharp memory, strengthen the immune system, support skin and eye health. When you refrigerate peanut butter, you accelerate the breakdown of this vital nutrient. Think about that for a moment. Every time you eat a spoonful of cold peanut butter, you might be getting less of what your aging body actually needs. That means less protection for your heart, less support for your memory, less resilience for your immune system. Emotional impact. When familiar foods fail us. For seniors, food isn't just about nourishment. It's about identity, independence, dignity. Imagine the emotional weight when the foods you grew up with, the ones that once brought ease and joy, become difficult to handle, uncomfortable to eat, or even harmful to your health. I've seen this change a person's daily rhythm entirely. They skip meals. They eat less. They begin to feel defeated. It's not just about the peanut butter. It's about what it represents: comfort, routine, control. So when that comfort becomes a burden, it subtly chips away at quality of life. Have you ever felt this way? Do you sometimes avoid foods you used to enjoy because they're no longer easy to manage? Has your relationship with food changed as you've aged the gentle but the store, your peanut butter? That's no sunlight, no heat, no. Just a quiet spot on when stored this way. It remains creamy and easy to spread. No wrist strain. Its antioxidants remain potent. This small choice supports your hands, your heart. It preserves the joy in food. Let's pause and reflect. Let me ask you one more time. Where do you keep your "have you ever felt frustrated"? Could a change this small help restore comfort? Section 2.2. Onions. More than just tears. Expanded. Voiceover. Now, let's turn our attention to something humble, something that rarely takes center stage, but quietly sits at the heart of countless meals: the onion. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't sparkle like a fresh tomato or glow like golden bread. But it's there, at the foundation of stews, soups, sauces, and stir-fries. For many seniors, especially those who've cooked for decades, onions are part of every rhythm in the kitchen. They are the unsung heroes of the home-cooked meal. A little bitterness, a little sweetness, all simmered into something beautiful. But here's something most people don't know. Putting whole onions in the refrigerator can silently sabotage everything they're meant to do, both in your food and in your body. The natural habitat of onions, and why it matters. You see, onions aren't just vegetables. They're living storage organs. Nature designed them to last. They're wrapped in dry, papery skins for a reason. to protect the moist layers inside from mold, air, and premature spoilage. They thrive in dry, dark, cool environments with airflow. Think of a wooden drawer, a woven basket, or an old ceramic jar like your grandmother used to keep on the counter. But when we put them into a modern refrigerator, with its cold humidity, something changes. Their outer skins absorb moisture. That tough, papery shell begins to soften. The cold penetrates their core, and suddenly, instead of staying crisp and vibrant, your onion begins to rot from the inside out, quietly. The hidden dangers: mold, moisture, and bacteria. This isn't just a matter of soggy onions or foul smells. It's a matter of health. Once moisture seeps into the onion's layers, mold can take hold, especially near the root or stem. Even if you cut away the visibly soft parts, invisible mold spores and bacteria may have already spread internally. And for seniors, particularly those with a compromised immune system, this kind of contamination isn't just unpleasant, it's dangerous. I've treated older adults who've experienced digestive upsets, mild fevers, and inflammatory flare-ups that stemmed from seemingly harmless foods like onions. You may never connect the dots, because the symptoms don't always scream food poisoning. They might whisper instead: a dull ache in the joints, a tiredness that lingers, a little nausea that comes and goes. These small signs are easy to ignore, but your body is trying to tell you something. Losing the nutritional gift. Quercetin and beyond. Here's what might surprise you even more. Onions, especially red and yellow varieties, are rich in quercetin, a powerful antioxidant and natural anti-inflammatory. For older adults, quercetin is a gift. It helps reduce joint pain and swelling. It improves circulation and protects arteries. It can support immune strength and reduce oxidative stress. But quercetin is fragile. When onions are exposed to moisture and cold for extended periods, this compound begins to degrade, meaning that the very thing that could have soothed your arthritis or protected your heart slowly disappears. You may still taste the onion, but its healing potential has been stripped away. Real-life example: Mr. Garcia's story. I once spoke with Mr. Garcia, 68, a retired carpenter who used to refrigerate every fresh ingredient, including onions, because, as he said, "That's what I thought kept things fresh longer." But over time, he began to experience more bloating after meals. His arthritis flared up more often, especially after heavier dinners. He never suspected the onions until his daughter-in-law helped him reorganize his pantry. They moved the whole onions to a cool, dry basket under the kitchen counter. Within weeks, he noticed improvement in both digestion and joint stiffness. His onions stayed firm and flavorful longer. His cooking felt joyful again. It wasn't a miracle. It was just a simple correction of how we treat our food. The emotional impact of small failures in the kitchen. And here's something I often hear from seniors, and maybe you've felt it too. When a recipe doesn't taste right, when a vegetable feels slimy, when your fridge smells off, you begin to lose confidence in your kitchen. You stop trusting your instincts. You hesitate to cook. And for many older adults, especially those who live alone, this emotional withdrawal from food loss unintended feelings of isolation or helplessness. Because it's about what that. So it's not complicated, but it makes all the difference. Store whole onions in a well basket. Keep them in cool, dark spot, a never seal. They need to breathe. Only peeled or, and even then, airtight glass containers and use. This way, your onions remain firm and your meals, whether it's your pause for reflection. Let me ask you, where do you currently keep your onions? In Have You Ever Noticed Them? Do You One Small Food is tradition, but it's also a living system, full of chemistry, biology, and time-sensitive nutrients that interact with your aging body. When you take the time to understand how these everyday ingredients behave, you're not just cooking better, you're healing smarter. Storing onions correctly is a simple act, but for someone battling inflammation, heart problems, or fatigue, it's a step toward more vitality and joy. Section 2.3. Bananas. The Sweet Betrayal voiceover. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most familiar and comforting fruits in the world, the banana. It's soft, it's sweet, it's easy to chew, and even easier to digest. For many seniors, it's the perfect fruit. Gentle on the stomach, rich in potassium, quick to prepare, and packed with natural energy. You don't need a knife or a peeler. You don't need dentures or strong teeth. You just peel and enjoy. Bananas have a sense of innocence to them. A banana on the kitchen table feels like safety, simplicity, wholesomeness. It's no wonder many of us grew up eating bananas and still reach for them well into our golden years. But here's the problem. When you store bananas in the refrigerator, you may be quietly destroying everything that makes them good for you. The cold injury. No one talks about. Let's start with what you can see. When a banana is placed in the fridge, the peel quickly begins to turn dark, sometimes within a few hours. At first glance, you might think the fruit is just ripening faster or browning naturally. But what's actually happening is a cold injury. Bananas are tropical fruits. They evolved in warm climates, under sunlight, in moist air, not in cold refrigerators. When exposed to low temperatures, the enzymes responsible for ripening shut down completely. That process, the one that naturally turns starch into sugars, stops in its tracks. The result? A banana that might look ripe on the outside, with that familiar yellow-brown peel, but feels firm, chalky, and unripe on the inside. What you can't see: the loss of antioxidants. But there's something even more concerning than texture. When bananas are chilled, key antioxidants begin to degrade, including dopamine, which helps regulate emotional well-being and focus, catechins, plant compounds that reduce inflammation and protect the brain, vitamin B6, crucial for brain chemistry and nerve function. Dopamine is especially important in aging. It's not just a mood stabilizer, it's involved in motivation, memory, and even movement. As dopamine levels naturally decline with age, seniors are more vulnerable to symptoms like apathy or low mood, forgetfulness, reduced coordination, fatigue. When a banana is refrigerated and its dopamine content declines, you're losing one of the very nutrients that helps keep your brain and emotions balanced. Personal story. Ms. Lee's quiet discomfort. I remember Ms. Lee, 75, a retired librarian with a sweet tooth for bananas. She told me she kept them in the fridge because she didn't want them to go brown. But over time, she started feeling bloated after eating them. The texture became unappealing. She began avoiding them altogether. When we looked closer, we found tiny mold formations at the stem, hidden under the darkened peel. For someone like Ms. Lee, with a sensitive digestive system, this wasn't harmless. It caused low-grade inflammation and digestive discomfort that lingered. After switching to room temperature storage and freezing peeled bananas when they became too ripe, not only did the symptoms vanish, but her appetite improved too. Why bananas matter more than you think. Bananas aren't just a snack. They're a nutritional powerhouse, especially for seniors. They contain potassium, helps regulate blood pressure and reduce the risk of stroke. Magnesium, relaxes muscles and supports sleep quality. Fiber, helps digestion and prevents constipation. Vitamin C boosts immune function and skin health. Natural sugars provide clean energy without causing a sugar crash. But all of these benefits depend on how the fruit is stored and ripened. Improper storage can strip the banana of its sweetness, its antioxidants, and, in many cases, its digestibility. Audience reflection. Let's talk together. Let me ask you, honestly, have you ever opened your fridge, reached for a banana, and found it black and mushy, or weirdly stiff inside? Do you store bananas cold out of habit? Or maybe because someone told you it makes them last longer? Have you stopped eating bananas as much as you used to, without really knowing why? Sometimes it's not that your body is rejecting certain foods. It's that those foods aren't being stored in a way your body can use them properly. The senior solution. Let bananas breathe. The fix is easy, and it might even bring more life to your kitchen. Store bananas at room temperature, ideally in a fruit bowl or hanging on a banana hook. Keep them away from apples or avocados, which release ethylene gas that speeds ripening. If your bananas ripen too quickly, peel and freeze them. They're perfect for smoothies, banana bread, or even as a frozen treat on hot days. I often tell my older patients, let your bananas live where you live, not in the freezer aisle of a grocery store. You'll enjoy better taste. Your body will absorb more nutrients, and your digestive system will thank you. Bonus tip: banana peels talk. Are you listening? Ever notice a strange odor around the stem of a refrigerated banana? That's not just ripening. It may be fermentation or mold. If your bananas feel wet or sticky near the top, it's a sign they're no longer safe to eat raw. And as we age, even small exposures to spoiled fruit can lead to gas or bloating, gut sensitivity, sleep disruption, mild immune reactions. So remember, if it smells off, trust your instincts and discard it. Final pause for reflection. Let's pause for a moment. What's one change you could make today in how you store bananas? Could moving them out of the fridge bring back the sweetness you've been missing? What if this tiny act could improve your mood, digestion, and energy over time? Sometimes caring for ourselves isn't about expensive supplements or special diets. It's about the simple things, like where we keep our fruit. Let's start there. Part 3. Foods. Seniors must refrigerate for safety. Protecting your health section. Point 1. Cooked meats and leftovers. The silent threat, expanded. Voiceover: now that we've explored the foods that suffer in cold environments, let's shift to a different kind of danger. The danger that arises when we don't refrigerate quickly enough. Let's talk about something comforting, familiar, and often underestimated. Cooked meats and leftovers. A bowl of chicken soup from yesterday, a few slices of roast beef from Sunday's dinner, the last 2 pieces of grilled fish you were saving for lunch tomorrow. These aren't just food. For many seniors, they're symbols of independence. Leftovers offer more than nourishment. They help stretch a tight budget. They reduce the physical strain of cooking every day. They preserve the warmth and flavor of a meal that once brought people together. But there's a quiet threat hidden in this convenience, one that doesn't smell bad, doesn't look dangerous, and doesn't warn you until it's too late. The science behind the danger. Here's the truth too few people talk about. Once cooked, food doesn't stop being vulnerable. In fact, once it cools and sits at room temperature, especially between 40 degrees Celsius and 140 degrees Celsius, 60 degrees Celsius, it enters what experts call the danger zone. In that temperature range, bacteria like Listeria, Clostridium perfringens, Salmonella can multiply rapidly, doubling every 20 minutes, even on freshly cooked chicken. even in homemade stew, even in that delicious meatloaf your grandson complimented you on last night. And the most dangerous part? These bacteria don't change the color, smell, or texture of your food. So unless you're watching the clock, you may not even know you're taking a risk. Why seniors are more vulnerable. Let's step into the shoes of someone older. Maybe you, maybe someone you care about. As we age, our immune system naturally weakens. We produce less stomach acid, which means fewer defenses against pathogens. Our digestion slows, giving bacteria more time to spread inside us. And sometimes, we don't recognize the early warning signs of infection because they don't look like the classic symptoms. Instead of nausea or cramps, foodborne illness in seniors may look like lightheadedness, mild confusion, weakness, slight fever, difficulty focusing. And these symptoms can easily be mistaken for something else, like a medication side effect or fatigue. Mr. Jenkins's story, a painful lesson. Let me tell you about Mr. Jenkins, a 70-year-old former truck driver. He had a habit of leaving his dinner out for a few hours, just in case he wanted seconds later. One night, after eating a plate of leftover chicken that had been on the counter for almost 3 hours, he began to feel off. He described it as dizziness, like the room was gently tilting. Then confusion set in. He forgot why he had walked into the kitchen. His daughter, visiting at the time, thought it might be a mini-stroke. They rushed him to the hospital, but it wasn't a stroke. It was foodborne illness from bacteria-laced poultry. He spent 3 days recovering from severe dehydration, and when we talked, he told me, "I just didn't think warm food could make me sick after I'd already cooked it." That's the part that shocks many older adults. The belief that cooking makes food completely safe, no matter how long it sits out. But safety has an expiration window, even after the stove is turned off. Best practices for leftovers. What you can do right now. Here's how you can protect yourself and still enjoy every bite of yesterday's meals. Never leave cooked food out for more than 2 hours. In warm weather, above 90 degrees or 32 degrees Celsius, reduce that to just 1 hour. Transfer leftovers into shallow, airtight containers to help them cool faster. Label them with the date so you don't lose track of freshness. Try to eat leftovers within 3 to 4 days, even if they smell fine. Reheat food to 165 degrees, 74 degrees, before eating, especially meats and stews. Pause and reflect. Let's talk about habits. Let me ask you gently, how long do you usually leave food out after cooking, before putting it away? Do you ever forget leftovers on the counter until bedtime? Have you ever eaten something just because it looked okay, even though it had been sitting out too long? Emotional connections to leftovers. And why it matters. For many seniors, throwing food away isn't just about waste. It feels wrong. Maybe you grew up in a time when food was scarce, when every meal was precious, when leftovers meant saving money, being resourceful, feeding family for another day. So it can feel almost disrespectful to throw out a dish that seems perfectly fine. I understand that. I really do. But in this stage of life, we have to weigh those values against our changing bodies. The food you saved to nourish you shouldn't be the food that harms you. A quick story. Ms. Robinson and the Forgotten Soup. Ms. Robinson, 76, once told me how she left a pot of homemade lentil soup on the stovetop overnight. She woke up the next morning and decided to reheat it, not wanting to waste the effort. But within hours, she was bloated, dizzy, and running a low fever. We later found out the soup had developed Clostridium perfringens, a bacteria that thrives in warm, protein-rich environments. Now, she stores her leftovers in small glass containers, puts them in the fridge before she even sits down to eat, and has had no issues since. Your health is worth the effort. You deserve to enjoy leftovers safely. You deserve peace of mind when you open your fridge. And you deserve to feel strong, stable, and confident in the food you prepare. That doesn't mean wasting food. It means respecting it, honoring it, and handling it with the same care you give yourself. Section 3.2. Dairy Products, Fragile and Risky, expanded. Voiceover. Next, let's talk about something simple. Something most of us reach for every day, often without thinking twice. Dairy, milk, cheese, yogurt. These are comfort foods, memory foods, a splash of milk in your morning coffee, a slice of cheese with crackers in the afternoon, a spoonful of yogurt to calm your stomach before bedtime. For many seniors, dairy is a part of the rhythm of daily life, rooted in nostalgia and routine. It connects us to our childhood, to family traditions, to simpler times. But here's what you might not realize. Dairy is one of the most fragile food groups in your kitchen. And for older adults, improper dairy storage is not just a small mistake. It can become a serious health risk. Why dairy spoils? So easily, dairy products are rich in life-giving nutrients, proteins that repair tissue and support immune function, calcium that strengthens bones and prevents fractures, vitamin B12 that keeps nerves and blood cells healthy, vitamin D that enhances mood and helps absorb minerals properly. But those same nutrients, especially the moisture and natural sugars in dairy, make it an ideal breeding ground for bacteria when left out of refrigeration. If dairy sits out too long, particularly in warm or humid environments, bacteria begin to multiply silently. No warning, no sour smell, no change in texture right away. Just invisible, rapid growth that your body, especially in older age, may not be able to handle easily. Why seniors face greater risk. Let's stand in your shoes for a moment. As we age, our stomach acid becomes less acidic, making it harder to kill harmful microbes. Our immune system weakens, taking longer to respond to infection. Our gut microbiome changes, affecting how we process foods. Our sensitivity to inflammation increases, turning a minor upset into a days-long struggle. In other words, what might cause a mild stomachache in someone younger can turn into a full-blown health setback in an older adult. Even a glass of warm milk left out too long. Even a cheese platter sitting at room temperature during a family gathering. Mrs. Johnson's story. A hidden cause. Take Mrs. Johnson, 73. For weeks, she felt drained. Her joints ached more than usual. She was napping more often, struggling to stay focused during phone calls with her granddaughter. Her blood work came back fine. Her doctor couldn't find anything obviously wrong, until she mentioned that she often left cheese out on the kitchen counter overnight without realizing it. It turns out she'd been eating small portions of cheese that had been exposed to bacteria for hours, and her body was struggling with the cumulative inflammatory effect. When she started refrigerating her cheese immediately after use, switching to airtight containers, and checking expiration dates more carefully, her symptoms improved within a week. The invisible enemy, spoiled dairy. Doesn't always smell. Many people rely on smell or taste to judge whether dairy has gone bad. But here's the truth. Spoiled dairy doesn't always smell bad. Some harmful bacteria, like Listeria monocytogenes, don't produce a sour odor or slimy texture, yet can still lead to digestive upset, systemic inflammation, joint flare-ups, fever, and fatigue. Even serious complications in frail or immunocompromised seniors. Best practices for dairy safety. Here's how you can protect yourself and still enjoy your favorite dairy foods. Keep your refrigerator below 40 grads. 40°C. Use a thermometer if you're unsure. Always return dairy to the fridge immediately after use. Even 30 to 60 minutes on the counter adds risk. Use airtight containers to prevent cross-contamination and moisture exposure. Check expiration dates carefully. When in doubt, throw it out. Keep dairy away from raw meats or eggs in the fridge. Use glass jars or BPA-free containers that seal well, not loosely covered bowls or foil. Pause and reflect. Honest questions. Let's take a moment together. Do you often leave milk or yogurt out while preparing a meal? Have you ever put cheese back into the fridge hours later, thinking, it's probably fine? When was the last time you checked the temperature of your refrigerator? Could it be warmer than you think? Do you keep all your dairy on one shelf, or mixed in with meats, leftovers, or condiments that could contaminate them? Personal reflection. My patient's fridge. Surprise. One of my patients, Mr. Howard, 80, thought his fridge was working just fine, until I suggested he buy a $5 thermometer. Turns out, his fridge was holding steady at 47 degrees, 8.3, far too warm to safely store dairy. After adjusting the settings and reorganizing the interior for better airflow, he noticed fewer digestive issues. His milk lasted longer. He felt more confident about what he was eating. Sometimes, it's not your body that's failing you. It's your fridge. Dairy and dignity. Your food. Reflects your care. Dairy is more than just nutrition. It's about taste, texture, comfort, the creamy warmth of a bowl of oatmeal, the smooth finish of a cup of tea, the satisfaction of cheese and crackers at lunchtime. But to truly nourish your body, it has to be safe. And in this chapter of life, you deserve food that supports your strength, not sabotages it. You've worked too hard to let invisible bacteria steal your energy. Let your dairy serve you, not the other way around. Section 3.3. Leafy greens. Nutrient powerhouses at risk voiceover. Now let's talk about something light, green, and often overlooked, but deeply powerful. Leafy greens. Spinach, kale, romaine, arugula, collards. They may look delicate, but inside their soft leaves is a treasure chest of nutrition, especially for seniors. Just one serving can deliver folate for brain health and cellular repair, vitamin K for blood clotting and bone density, lutein and zeaxanthin for eye protection, magnesium to relax muscles and regulate blood sugar, antioxidants to slow the aging process and protect memory. They're some of the most important allies in your fight against aging, helping protect your bones, your heart, your vision, and even your mind. But here's the issue. These leafy greens are also some of the most fragile foods in your kitchen. Without proper storage, they wilt quickly, lose their healing power, and can even become dangerous. The problem with improper storage. Unlike carrots or potatoes, leafy greens have no tough skin. Their leaves are thin, porous, and highly sensitive to air, moisture, and temperature shifts. When left out of the fridge or improperly stored, even for just a few hours, they begin to wilt, darken, lose water-soluble vitamins like folate and vitamin C, and worse, develop harmful bacterial growth. One of the biggest risks? Moisture. If leafy greens are stored in tightly sealed plastic bags without airflow or with too much condensation, they become a bacterial breeding ground. That little bit of slime you see in the bag, that's not just wilting. It could be a sign of contamination from dangerous microbes like E. coli or Listeria monocytogenes. And when these pathogens take hold, especially in someone older, they don't just cause mild stomach upset. They can trigger digestive illness, joint flare-ups, and dangerous dehydration. The risk for seniors. More than just a salad gone bad. Let's stand in your shoes for a moment. You're trying to eat better. You add a handful of spinach to your eggs. You make a salad at lunch. You saute some kale with garlic and olive oil at dinner. You're doing everything right. But if that spinach sat in the warm car too long after shopping, or if that kale stayed in the fridge too long in a plastic bag full of condensation, then instead of nourishing you, that leafy green may be compromising your health. For older adults, a bacterial infection isn't just an inconvenience. It can lead to hospitalization, weeks of fatigue, inflammation that worsens arthritis or chronic conditions, and in rare cases, severe complications like kidney issues. Here's Mrs. Patel's story. A salad that sent her to the hospital. Let me tell you about Mrs. Patel, 78. She was trying to eat more greens, as her doctor had recommended. One night, she made a salad using pre-washed lettuce from a plastic bag that had been sitting in her fridge for nearly a week. There were a few damp spots, but she thought, it looks fine. Within 24 hours, she experienced cramping, diarrhea, low-grade fever, fatigue. She was admitted to the hospital 2 days later with a listeria infection. Thankfully, she recovered. But it was a painful and frightening experience for someone who had simply tried to make a healthy choice. After her recovery, she changed the way she handled greens forever, the right way to store leafy greens. So, how do you keep leafy greens safe without losing their nutrients? First, always store them in the crisper drawer of your fridge, the area designed for proper airflow and moisture balance. Remove them from sealed plastic bags, especially if moisture has collected. Wrap them gently in paper towels to absorb excess humidity. Place them in breathable containers or perforated produce bags. Check them daily for slimy spots, wilting, or dark edges, and use them quickly. Don't wash them until you're ready to use them. Moisture accelerates spoilage. And remember, if a leaf looks too soft or smells slightly sour, trust your instinct. Discard it. Better to waste a few leaves than risk your health. Nutritional loss is a quiet thief. Even before spoilage, improperly stored greens lose their power day by day. By the third or fourth day, you might lose up to 40% of the folate, a significant portion of vitamin C, declining levels of luteins, which protects the retina from age-related degeneration. So when you eat that tired-looking lettuce, you may not be getting the benefits you think you are. Proper storage isn't just about avoiding illness. It's about preserving the nutrients that help you age gracefully. Pause and reflect. Let's think together. Let me ask you, with all care and respect, do you rinse your greens and put them back in the fridge still damp? Do you keep them in their store-bought plastic bag without checking for moisture? Have you ever eaten greens with dark spots or a slight smell, thinking, it's probably fine? Do you feel overwhelmed trying to eat more vegetables, only to see them spoil before you get to them? If so, you're not alone. Many of my patients have told me they feel discouraged by food waste, or unsure of what's still good to eat. But the solution isn't complicated. It just takes a bit of knowledge, a few storage tweaks, and a commitment to listening to your food and your body. One final thought. Greens as gentle medicine. Leafy greens are often called nature's multivitamin, and for good reason. They support everything from cognitive clarity, bone density, circulation, vision, digestive comfort, but only when they're fresh, properly handled, and stored with care. You deserve meals that heal you, not hurt you. So protect your greens the same way you'd protect your peace, your health, your time. Part 4. Understanding the why behind proper food storage, the science of safety and nutrition. Voiceover, now that we've talked about what to refrigerate and what not to, let's dig deeper into the why. Why does one apple stay crisp and sweet while another turns soft and brown? Why does spinach spoil in a day, while carrots last weeks? Why does refrigeration save one food and ruin another? These questions matter more than we often realize, because as we age, understanding the science behind storage helps us make small, powerful decisions that protect our health every single day. 4.1 Temperature. The double-edged sword. Cold is a powerful tool, but it must be used wisely. Refrigeration lowers the temperature of food, slowing down the activity of harmful bacteria like Listeria and Salmonella. That's why cooked meats, dairy, and leftovers must be kept cold. It's like putting a pause button on bacterial growth, but for some foods, the cold does more harm than good. Let's take peanut butter as an example. You might think, it's safe in the fridge, right? But when you chill peanut butter, the healthy oils inside, the monounsaturated fats, start to harden. Not only does this make the texture stiff and frustrating to spread, especially for arthritic hands, but it also begins to break down the fats through a process called oxidation. Oxidized fats don't support your heart. They inflame it. They increase internal stress and worsen chronic conditions like high blood pressure, joint pain, and even memory loss. Now think about bananas. The enzymes that help bananas ripen, turning starches into sweet, energy-rich sugars, shut down in the cold. What you're left with is a banana that looks ripe on the outside, but is chalky, tasteless, and nutrient-depleted on the inside. Then there's onions. Chilling them in a moist, cold fridge environment softens their protective skins and invites mold growth between the layers. Layers you won't see until it's too late. For these foods, refrigeration becomes a double-edged sword. Let me ask you, have you noticed peanut butter getting harder and harder to use? Have you ever taken a banana out of the fridge and felt disappointed by the taste? Do your onions sometimes develop soft, slimy spots, even though they looked fine last week? 4.2 Moisture. Friend and foe. Moisture is essential for life, but when it lingers where it shouldn't, it becomes dangerous. Leafy greens like spinach, arugula, or lettuce love a bit of coolness, but when trapped in plastic bags or containers with too much moisture, they quickly become breeding grounds for E. coli, Listeria, and mold spores. You may have opened a salad bag before and seen that unpleasant slimy texture, or smelled something off. That's not just spoilage, it's a sign of bacterial growth. What's worse is that sometimes you don't see anything wrong, yet the risk is already there. Seniors are especially at risk because their digestive system slows down, giving bacteria more time to take root and multiply in the body. At the same time, dry storage environments can help protect and prolong the life of foods like onions, garlic, and shallots, which naturally evolved to store water and nutrients within their skins. Let me ask, do you store your greens in sealed bags straight from the store? Have you ever eaten lettuce that looked just a little wet and later felt bloated or tired? Do your onions sometimes sprout or soften before you've even had a chance to use them? 4.3 Nutrient Stability and Oxidation. Every food contains a delicate balance of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, but these nutrients can be easily destroyed by light, air, heat, or cold, especially when not stored properly. Oxidation happens when nutrients, especially fats, are exposed to oxygen. Think of how an apple turns brown once sliced. That's oxidation in action. Now imagine what's happening inside your foods when they're stored incorrectly. In peanut butter, oxidation transforms heart-healthy fats into inflammatory ones. In leafy greens, oxygen and moisture degrade folate and vitamin C. essential for memory and immunity. In bananas, chilling halts the formation of dopamine and catechins, antioxidants that fight brain aging. And one particularly important nutrient, vitamin E, is extremely sensitive to oxidation. This vitamin is essential for seniors because it protects your cells from damage, supports eye health, and helps reduce chronic inflammation. But once it degrades, often due to improper storage, its protective benefits vanish. 4.4. Bacterial growth and immune response in aging. In younger years, a bit of spoiled food might lead to a short-lived stomachache. But as we age, our immune system isn't as fast or strong as it once was. Our stomach acid becomes less effective at killing bacteria. Our white blood cells respond more slowly to infections. Our gut lining becomes more sensitive to irritation. And our hydration levels drop faster when illness strikes. This means that seniors are not only more likely to get sick from food, but also more likely to experience serious complications, including hospitalization, dehydration, and prolonged fatigue. Even worse, the symptoms can look nothing like a typical stomach bug. Instead of vomiting or diarrhea, many older adults experience confusion, dizziness or unsteadiness, general weakness, low-grade fever or chills. That's why it's so critical to avoid even minor food mishandling. Let me ask you, have you ever felt off after a meal, but weren't sure why? Do you sometimes assume it's just aging, when it could be what you ate, or how it was stored? 4.5. The invisible price. Chronic inflammation. Here's the part few people talk about, and the part that matters deeply to seniors. Improper food storage doesn't just increase your risk of food poisoning. It also contributes to chronic, low-level inflammation. Every time you eat oxidized fats, nutrient-depleted produce, or food exposed to bacteria, your body has to fight back. Even if it's a mild reaction, the cumulative damage builds over time. This kind of inflammation has been linked to heart disease, cognitive decline and memory loss, worsening arthritis, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes. So, while you may think a soft banana or a lukewarm yogurt isn't a big deal, your body may quietly be paying the price. Let me ask, are you experiencing more joint stiffness, brain fog, or fatigue lately? Could part of it be linked to low-level inflammation from your diet or food handling habits? 4.6. Bringing it all together. Food, storage, and aging. Gracefully. Your fridge is not the enemy. Your pantry isn't just for convenience. These tools, when used with intention and understanding, become powerful allies in your journey toward graceful aging. When you begin to see how food behaves, how nutrients survive, and how bacteria spread, you take back control. And with each small choice, where you place your onions, how quickly you store your leftovers, whether you wrap your greens in paper towels, you're not just organizing your kitchen. You're protecting your heart, your brain, your mobility, and your independence. Let me close this section with a final question. What's one small habit you could change today to keep your food and your body healthier? Part 5. Practical tips for seniors and caregivers. Simple steps to safer, healthier food storage. Understanding which foods to refrigerate and which to keep out is a powerful first step. But as you and I both know, knowledge is only half the battle. The real transformation happens when we turn insight into habit, when we build little routines that make health and safety part of our everyday kitchen life. So how do we make this practical, especially for older adults and caregivers who may already feel overwhelmed? Let's walk through some real-world strategies that are gentle, manageable, and respectful of your time, space, and needs. 5.1 Create clear zones. Pantry versus fridge. Have you ever found a banana next to the butter? Or onions stored in a drawer under frozen peas? It's more common than you think, and usually happens because we're rushing or not sure where something belongs. A simple but powerful solution: create distinct food zones. Set aside shelves or baskets for room temperature only foods like bananas, onions, garlic, peanut butter. Keep refrigerated items like dairy, cooked meats, leafy greens. You can even label each shelf with clear, bold signs. I once visited a patient, Mr. Alvarez, who had large handwritten notes taped to his pantry doors. Bananas stay here. Fridge is for leftovers only. Not only did this make grocery put away easier, it also helped his visiting grandkids and part-time caregiver respect his storage preferences. Pause to ask, do you currently have a system for where things go? Or is it time to create one that works better for your memory and space? 5. To label and date leftovers. It's easy to forget when you cooked something. Was that stew from Monday or last Thursday? Memory lapses are natural, especially when you're juggling medications, appointments, and everyday life. To stay safe, use masking tape and a marker to label each leftover container with the date it was cooked. Place newer items in the back of the fridge and older ones in the front to eat first. Set a gentle rule: eat within 3 to 4 days, or toss. Some seniors I work with keep a leftover log on their fridge door, a simple handwritten chart with dates and contents. Others prefer small color-coded stickers: green for good, yellow for use soon, and red for toss today. Ask yourself, would a simple checklist or color system help reduce confusion and prevent you from eating something unsafe? 5.3 Use paper towels and breathable bags for greens. Leafy greens can be both a blessing and a burden. You buy a big bag of spinach, and 2 days later, it's mush. The secret? Wrap a handful of greens in dry paper towels, then place them in a breathable bag or loosely closed container. This absorbs excess moisture while allowing airflow, the sweet spot for freshness. Try it once, and you'll be amazed how much longer your greens last. Mrs. Barlow, 81, told me, "I used to throw away half my lettuce every week. Now it stays crisp and beautiful." It's a small change, but a meaningful one. Reflect. Are your greens often wilting faster than you can eat them? Could paper towels and better containers save you both money and nutrients? 5.4. Maintain proper fridge temperature. Here's a surprising fact. Most people don't know how cold their fridge really is. And even more surprising, the fridge might feel cold but still be above 40 grader. Fosterings. The danger zone where bacteria thrive. Buy a simple refrigerator thermometer, they're less than $10, and place it in the center of your fridge. Check it once a week. Adjust the settings as needed, especially after a power outage or when the seasons change and your home warms up. Mr. Duncan, 77, thought his fridge was fine until a thermometer showed it was sitting at 45 degrees. After making one small dial adjustment, his food started lasting longer and tasting fresher. Ask, have you ever checked your fridge's actual temperature? Is it time to find out and take control? 5.5 Store. Bananas at room temperature. Bananas are one of the most loved fruits among seniors. Easy to chew, easy to digest, comforting. But they do not belong in the fridge. Store them in a well-ventilated bowl or hang them from a banana hook to reduce bruising. If they ripen too quickly, peel and freeze them in a Ziploc bag for smoothies or baking. This preserves both the sweetness and the nutrients, especially dopamine, which helps protect emotional balance and brain health. Reflect. Do you refrigerate bananas to make them last? Could this habit be robbing you of their health benefits? 5.6. Use airtight containers for cut onions and dairy whole onions. Keep them in a cool, dry, dark spot, not the fridge. But once cut, they should be sealed tightly in glass or BPA-free plastic containers to prevent moisture and mold. The same goes for dairy. Once opened, it must be sealed well and used promptly. Avoid rewrapping cheese in loose foil or leaving milk uncovered. Ms. Tanaka, 79, started using a dedicated dairy drawer and small reusable containers for all her opened items. Her digestion improved, and she felt more confident preparing her meals. Ask, do you often rewrap cheese or onions in plastic wrap and hope for the best? Is it time for better containers and habits? 7. Educate and share with family or caregivers. Food safety isn't a solo effort. If a daughter drops off groceries or a neighbor helps you prep meals, share your system. Show them where things go. Explain why you label leftovers. Post a simple guide on the fridge if needed. Mr. Shaw, 82, printed a one-page kitchen rules for his part-time caregiver. It included tips like, bananas go in fruit bowl only. Leftovers must be labeled. Fridge stays at 38 degrees. It prevented countless mix-ups and gave everyone peace of mind. Consider, does your caregiver or helper know your preferences? Or could a simple guide help everyone work together? 5.8. Listen to your body and watch for warning signs. As we age, our bodies speak in whispers, not shouts. What used to be a stomachache may now show up as dizziness, confusion, general fatigue, joint pain. Pay close attention to how you feel after eating. If something seems off, write it down. Track it. Ms. Franklin, 76, started noticing she felt sluggish and foggy after eating leftovers stored too long. Now she tosses anything older than 3 days. No exceptions. Reflect. Have you ever blamed age for symptoms that might actually be linked to food safety? 5.9. Make it fun, and personal organization doesn't have to be boring. Use cheerful labels, fun containers, and color coding. Celebrate small wins. Turn cleanup into a routine you enjoy. Play your favorite music. Set a timer. Make it a habit. Mr. and Mrs. Clay, both in their 80s, turn fridge cleaning into Friday fridge date. They sort leftovers, wipe shelves, and laugh together. It's a ritual of care and connection. Ask yourself, could turning storage routines into small, joyful habits improve both your health and your mood? 10. Real-life success. Story: Mrs. Morales' journey. Let me tell you about Mrs. Mastidlfitz Morales, age 74. She was feeling tired, bloated, and anxious, and food had become a source of stress instead of pleasure. After a visit to her doctor and a bit of guidance, she started slowly reorganizing her kitchen. She labeled her leftovers with painter's tape and a black marker. She moved her onions and bananas into breathable pantry baskets. She checked her fridge's temperature and adjusted it to 38 degrees. In just 2 weeks, she reported fewer digestive issues, better sleep, more energy for her daily walks, renewed confidence in her ability to care for herself, and perhaps most importantly, she felt in control again. Pause for reflection. Let me ask you gently, which of these habits can you start today? Not all at once, but one small step at a time. What change would make your kitchen feel more supportive, peaceful, or joyful? Could a little organization lead to better health and more confidence in how you nourish yourself? Part 6. Emotional and quality of life impact. Food, comfort, and independence. Voiceover. Food is never just fuel. Especially in our later years, it takes on a new meaning. It becomes a ritual we look forward to, a connection to the past, a source of joy and dignity. It brings comfort when our days are quiet, and familiarity when the world feels like it's changing too fast. A bowl of soup, a slice of buttered toast, the smell of onions sizzling in a pan. These small things carry weight. They are pieces of who we are. But what happens when the foods we've loved, trusted, and leaned on for decades suddenly become difficult to prepare, unpleasant to eat, or even dangerous? When something as small as texture or spoilage steals our joy, that's where the emotional toll begins. 6.1. The emotional toll of changing food. Textures. Imagine opening your favorite jar of peanut butter. You remember how easily it used to glide across a piece of toast. Smooth, creamy, comforting. But now, it's stiff, hard, and uncooperative, thanks to improper storage in the fridge. If your hands are weak, or your grip isn't what it used to be, suddenly a simple sandwich becomes a struggle. And when something as basic as spreading peanut butter becomes frustrating or even painful, you begin to avoid it. That's what happened to Mr. Elliot, 80, who shared, "I used to love a peanut butter and banana sandwich every morning, but it got so difficult to spread, I gave up. It just didn't feel worth it anymore." Now imagine how that one change affects your day. It's not just about the sandwich. It's about a comforting routine lost, a piece of joy removed. Pause to reflect. Is there a food you've stopped enjoying because it became too hard to prepare or eat? How did that affect your day or your mood? 6.2. Food is memory and connection. Food isn't just something we eat, it's something we remember. Think about your mother's soup or your father's Sunday breakfast, the smell of fresh herbs, the taste of summer tomatoes. Now imagine trying to recreate one of those dishes, only to find that the onions stored in your fridge have turned musty, or your bananas are black and flavorless. That's not just a cooking issue. It's a loss of tradition. A dish that doesn't taste like it used to. A moment that doesn't land the way it once did. Mrs. Nguyen, 76, told me, "I tried to make my family's New Year stir-fry, just like my mother did. But the onions were too soft. The bananas I served afterward were bland. It didn't feel the same. I felt like I let everyone down." Even if no one else notices, you notice. And that stings. Pause to reflect. Have you tried to recreate a dish from your past, only to feel it didn't taste the way it used to? Could food storage have played a role in that experience? 6.3. The kitchen as a place of empowerment. Now let's talk about the kitchen itself, your domain. For years, maybe decades, it was your space. You knew where everything was. You could whip up meals with your eyes closed. But as time goes on, cooking can become less joyful and more stressful, especially when spoilage, waste, or safety issues arise. Mr. Ramirez, 69, told me, "After my surgery, I felt nervous about cooking. I didn't know what was still good in the fridge. I kept second-guessing myself." But then he made a few small changes. He learned to label leftovers. He reorganized his fridge so dairy and meat had clear spots. He used a thermometer to keep it below 40 degrees. And you know what happened? It gave me back my confidence. I felt like I knew what I was doing again. That's the power of practical knowledge. It returns a sense of control, a sense of pride. Ask yourself, do you feel completely in control of your kitchen right now? Or has it started to feel confusing or overwhelming? 6.4. Small changes, big gains. We often think we need a total overhaul to feel better, but the truth is, tiny improvements in the kitchen can bring big emotional relief. Labeling your containers. Sakshamancers less anxiety about spoilage. Keeping bananas at room temp. Saksham sweeter taste and less waste. Organizing pantry zones. Quicker meals, fewer mistakes. Crisp lettuce that lasts. More pride in your salads. These aren't just technical fixes. They restore dignity. They say, I can still do this. They remind you that your kitchen is a space of nourishment, not stress. 6.5 Reconnecting with joy. Let's go back to something deeper. Joy. When you take a few extra moments to rinse your greens and store them properly. When you unwrap your favorite cheese and find it fresh, not spoiled. When your sandwich spreads smoothly and your bananas taste as sweet as childhood, you don't just feel better, you feel connected to yourself again. That's what caring for your food and your routine does. It says, I matter. I deserve a meal that tastes right. I can care for myself with confidence. Pause and ask, when was the last time a meal made you feel happy, safe, or proud? What can you do to bring that feeling back more often? 6.6 A story of rediscovery. The Martinez couple. Let me tell you about the Martinez couple, both in their mid-70s. They'd been together nearly 50 years, and over time, their kitchen had become a place of quiet tension. Spoiled milk, unlabeled leftovers, forgotten produce, frequent tummy aches, a growing sense of, this is too much work. They started arguing more. Meals became shorter, colder, quieter. But then they decided to tackle it. Together. They cleared out the fridge, labeled containers with fun names, Manny's meatballs, Grandma's greens. They learned which foods needed cold and which didn't. They added a small whiteboard to track meals and storage times. And slowly, the laughter returned. Cooking became a team activity again. Their granddaughter said, the food even tastes better now. Sometimes, all it takes is clarity, communication, and a renewed sense of care. Voiceover close, reflection and gentle challenge. Food touches every part of our lives, not just the body, but the mind, the spirit, the memory. When we treat it with respect, when we store it with care, when we approach it with love, we don't just preserve nutrients, we preserve joy, tradition, confidence, connection. Let me ask you, what is one food memory you cherish deeply? What small change in your kitchen could help you protect that memory and keep enjoying it again and again? Because you deserve meals that nourish not just your body, but your life. Your kitchen can still be your sanctuary. As we reach the end of our journey today, let's pause and reflect on something truly important: your kitchen, your health, and your life. We've uncovered simple but powerful truths about the foods you keep and how you store them. Did you know that everyday choices, like whether to refrigerate peanut butter, onions, or bananas, can either protect your body or quietly put it at risk? You learned that. Keeping peanut butter in a cool, dry pantry preserves heart-healthy fats and keeps it easy to enjoy. Onions thrive in dry, airy places where their flavor and healing properties stay strong. Bananas ripen best at room temperature, and the fridge can actually steal their nutrients. Cooked meats and leftovers need to be refrigerated quickly and eaten within a few days to avoid dangerous bacteria. Dairy requires proper cold storage to keep it safe and gentle on your digestion. Leafy greens stay fresh and nutrient-packed when kept cold but dry, with good air circulation. These small but deliberate changes can reduce inflammation, protect your immune system, and even help keep your mind sharp. From one senior to another, a personal challenge. I want to encourage you, gently but firmly. Take just one small step this week to reorganize your kitchen. Label a shelf. Check your fridge's temperature with a simple thermometer. Share what you've learned today with a friend, neighbor, or family member. Because when we care for the food we eat, we are truly caring for ourselves. Why this matters. Listening to your body. Our bodies speak to us in whispers. A little ache here, some fatigue there, a mild stomach upset. These are often quiet signals that we're not caring for ourselves as well as we could. The refrigerator isn't your enemy, but misusing it? That can quietly undermine your well-being over time. You deserve a kitchen that supports not just a longer life, but a better life, filled with energy, clarity, and joy. Join our caring community. If this video helped you even a little, please hit the like button. It helps others find this vital information. Share it with someone you care about, because food safety is a gift that keeps on giving. And subscribe to Evergreen Health to join a community dedicated to your well-being. I'd love to hear from you. What is one new thing you learned today? Is there a habit you're ready to change to protect your health? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's support each other on this path. Together, we can build a community that cares deeply for food, for health, and for life. Final words of encouragement. Remember, it's never too late to change a habit. It's never too late to learn something new. And it's never too late to take better care of yourself. Your time, your body, your health, they are precious and worth protecting. Until we meet again, take care of your food, and it will take care of you. Thank you for watching Evergreen Health. Stay safe, stay strong, and keep thriving.